All right. Happy fall, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Community at the Core, a Department of Community Affairs podcast. I am your host, Kaya King, Chief of Staff of the DCA. And I think we are on our third episode of this series. I feel like we just started it and we're already well into fall. And I'm really excited about this one. I'm going to consider this a special episode for folks who are watching as well. The goal of this podcast for folks that have been tuning in, we've had some great information we've put out about homelessness prevention, eviction prevention, our incredible data work. And I'm excited because it's also about our internal programs, right? Sharing the insights, sharing the wisdom, sharing the resources that the department brings to your communities each and every day in the state of New Jersey. And today we have the privilege of having two of our top subject matter experts in the arena of fire safety. And the why behind that is because this week is a really special week. This is Fire Prevention Week, something that's nationally observed and has an important meaning, I think, not just in what it symbolized in terms of some transition and transformation in the fire safety industry, but more significantly, what it does as a reminder for the work that continues to this day by our fearless leaders across the state who work as firefighters in fire service and who help keep our homes, our buildings, our communities safe. So I'm excited to have two of our amazing staff members here today, Director of Fire Safety and our State Fire Marshal, as well as one of our key staff members in our Community Risk Reduction and Fire Incidents Program. We have Richard Mikutski and Charles Smitty Lavin. Can I call you Smitty?
Sure.
Awesome. I feel special. That's only for the special ones. So welcome to you both. I want to do a little bit of bragging because I think as folks are checking into our podcast and kind of know the rhythm, it's not just about the folks we serve, it's about who's serving your communities. So I just want to share a little bit about you, Director Mikutski. Rich Mikutski was appointed by Governor Philip Murphy in April 2018 as the Director and State Fire Marshal of the New Jersey Division of Fire Safety. The Division of Fire Safety, for folks that don't know, is the state's central fire service agency. And they're responsible for the development and enforcement of the Uniform Fire Code and implementing public education and firefighter training programs. As the State Fire Marshal, Rich is the lead state fire official in charge of enforcing state fire codes, investigating fire-related injuries, deaths, and crimes, directing fire prevention efforts, and coordinating fire suppression efforts statewide. So just a couple things.
Just a couple things.
Just casual. Prior to becoming the state's fire marshal, Rich served as a career firefighter for the Morristown Fire Bureau in Morristown, New Jersey, where he worked for more than 32 years. In 2013, he was promoted to the rank of captain, a rank he has held until his retirement in February 2018, when I think the state scooped you up. During his 32-year firefighting career, he's held many positions, some on executive board of the New Jersey State Firefighters Mutual Benevolent Association, NJFMBA, which is the statewide union representing approximately 5,000 career firefighters, EMTs, and dispatchers. From 2013 until his retirement in 2018, he held the position of executive vice president for the statewide union. Rich continues to serve as a volunteer firefighter for the Liberty Corner Fire Company in Bernards Township, where he lives with his wife, Nancy. Thank you, Rich, and welcome.
Great to be here.
And we have Charles Lavin. Charles is the supervisor of the Division of Fire Safety's Community Risk Reduction and Fire Incident Reporting Units. He has been with the Division of Fire Safety since 2003, so 22 years strong. He lives in Toms River with his wife and two kids. Smitty, we're excited to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's dive right in because as we started the episode, this is a significant week. And for folks that may not be aware and not really privy in what this landscape is in fire service, Fire Prevention Week has its roots in one of the most infamous and unfortunate disasters in U.S. history, and that is the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. That fire burned from October 8th, 9th, and 10th, destroying thousands of buildings, leaving around 100,000 people homeless, displaced, and killing more than 250 people in its wake. In the years that followed, the anniversary became a moment to promote fire safety awareness. And I think, as we all know, sometimes in these historical tragedies, there is a trailblazing towards change. And that's why we're here today. So I want to kick off, and I'm going to throw this to you, Smitty. But I wanted to hear a bit, and can you share with us, why does Fire Prevention Week remain such an important observance, even to this day in 2025?
I think it's a time to refocus, not for us. As Rich will tell you, every week around here is Fire Prevention Week. But
Okay.
For those people that are not in the fire service community, they're thinking about a billion things that are not fire safety, right? The Yankees and Phillies are in the playoffs. Taylor Swift has a new album out.
Yes.
Politics and elections are going on, which people are thinking about just a little bit.
Just a bit.
So beyond that, when Fire Prevention Week comes around and their kid brings home a plastic fire hat or they see something on social media, it kind of gets them thinking about something else. Are we safe? Do we have a plan if fire strikes in our house? Are our smoke alarms working? So that's the refocus of people from their everyday lives to think about fire safety, even just for a day or for a weekend. Take a trip to Home Depot and see what needs to be replaced in their home.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Fire Prevention Week is almost like a holiday, so to speak, to think about that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the word observance kind of puts it perfectly, right? Because it gives that bit of a pregnant pause on, some reminders that I think we take for granted, but just that moment of checking that fire alarm is a make or break, right? That's all the difference in the world to take that moment.
And I mean, to Rich's point, it's always Fire Prevention Week here, and we're always concentrating on it. Mm-hmm. But it only takes, a minute for someone to think, oh, I haven't tested my smoke alarm in 3 years or whatever it was. And you never know if that's going to wind up saving your life, saving your house, your kids, your pets. Mm-hmm. So just to think about that for a day or a week is important.
And speak to me a little bit more about how you all keep that in the forefront, right? And as you said, right, it's an everyday lifestyle, I think, for you and the team. But what is the way in which you all try to make some targeted promotion or keep that topic alive, not just this week, but year round?
Yeah, I mean, fire hazards and fire safety education is almost seasonal because of what people are doing in their daily lives. Mm-hmm. This time of year, we're gearing up for the holidays, and they present a certain list of challenges, whether it's Christmas trees or lights or candles, or heating sources in the winter. In the summer, it's grilling, it's fireworks, it's putting gasoline in your lawnmower, that kind of thing. So there's always, every season has a sport and weather, and fire safety has their thing that's going on that we try to promote and put messaging out to what's timely for people.
Right. So taking that back a little bit, and I think, you've obviously been, in this work, really understanding community need, interest, or where there's those gaps for about 22 years. If you had a magical way to just call everybody's attention to this work, right? To just bring everybody, world stopped, and everyone's going to kind of pay attention to what we're doing in the division, what would be a call to action or a reminder point that you would really want to be seated in folks if we could get that attention?
I'd say the simplest thing, have a smoke alarm. Mm-hmm. I mean, at this point, there's no excuse not to have one. Go to the store, pick one up. If that's not a possibility, contact your local fire department or fire prevention bureau. They'll help you out. If they don't help you out, contact us. I mean, I've run the Operation Save a Life program for many years. The idea is for us to get alarms to the departments which go to citizens in New Jersey, but that chain gets broken. So if somebody reaches out to us, I've left smoke alarms on people's porches from Sussex to Cape May for the past 20 years, and we will help you out. There's no reason not to have one. And I think that smoke alarms are the most important thing because we can promote, as this year's fire prevention theme is lithium-ion batteries. Right. In the past, it's been about cooking. It's been about smoking materials. But if any of those things go wrong, it's the smoke alarm that is going to alert you to what's going on and get you out of the house. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the catch-all device that can really be the difference that saves your life.
It's so significant to me, even in this day and age, and, it's simple but essential, but we still have folks that don't have that resource. And I think oftentimes people forget that you can call up your government entity. I know, people forget that and think, this is cost prohibitive or, the time. And it's like, we're here and available. And I think that's very helpful for folks to know. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, hearing a bit about how we're looking at, reduction in risk, engaging with our communities, the education, these are a lot of parts that for me, not being in fire service and really getting educated about the work that the division does, I don't think people realize, right? I think when you think about fire service, you maybe are just thinking about firefighters. And there's so much foundationally that this industry does directly and indirectly to really make sure it's an intentional network of support, right? As we're promoting that fire service. I want to go to you, Rich, a bit because it seems like now more than ever, firefighter recruitment and fire service industry recruitment is hitting a bit of a tipping point. And, from your eagle eye view, what makes joining the fire service so rewarding and unique, I think, to other types of industries?
Sure. Well, the recruitment isn't just an issue here in New Jersey. It's nationwide. I've been involved on a national board that we look at recruitment and retention for a couple of years now, and we get feedback from states, all the states, and we're all in the same situation. A lot of it is because of people just don't have the time to commit. There is a training aspect that has to be met. Here in New Jersey, to get your Fire One certification, it's a 200-hour course. A lot of people are working 2-3 jobs that don't have the time to spend on the a couple nights a week and weekends for 3 months to get the certification. That's one. Part of what we try to do, we have career and volunteer fire departments here in New Jersey. We try to go into the different towns and use that diversity in the town to attract interest in the fire service. You can have young kids who, since they were 5 or 6 years old, have wanted to be a firefighter. Other people that may come later in life. We see a large transition from our military. When they get out of the military, they're taking the test to become firefighters, and they're joining volunteer fire departments because it's that need, that feeling that they have. They want to help. They want to be part of the community. So there are some of the groups that we focus on. We also promote the ability to advance in the fire service. In fire service, we have our ranks. Your firefighters, lieutenants, captains, battalions, so on. And we use that ability for advancement as a tool and as an education to draw an interest into the fire service. So, and then there's also the strong community ties. Those, especially in the volunteer departments, you live in the town that you're going to be volunteering in. So you have that tie. With sometimes with the career departments as well. You've either lived there or have grown up there. You may have moved out, but you still have that tie from when you were growing up. So we use those things to try and attract and to try and enhance what the fire service does.
I love some of those insights that you noted, especially I think there's a lot of assumptions that our youth are like apathetic or that they don't want to be in their communities and work, right? Like it's almost this illusion of, they're going to be here in their communities and then they're heading to big city or they're going to these things. And I have found, and it sounds like you both have found, more often than not, I think some of these aspiring young professionals, they want to work where they live. And I think they want to feel like they're looking in the mirror and they're really contributing to the world around them. And it's a really exciting pendulum shift. And this career seems to really align with, I think, where a lot of young folks are looking to find value and find something with meaning. It's not, I think, enough. I think there's this assumption, they only want telework. They only want to, earn this amount of money. And I was like, I think there's intent and purpose. I think that we've actually are seeing a really exciting upswing. So, and that dovetails into, another question I had for you, Rich. I think sometimes there's these misconceptions, right? People may have a very limited view about fire service or being a firefighter. What have you found to be some misconceptions that you've run into kind of in your experience in the industry that you would want to just clear up or kind of break those assumptions that are out there?
Sure. Some of the misconceptions are that just the title itself, firefighter, that is all you do is put out fires. There are so many different things that you can do within the fire service. The fire service is not just putting out fires. It's EMS work. It's rescue work. It's fire prevention work. So there are so many offerings that the fire service has to, if you don't want to actually be a structural interior firefighter, there are so many other things that you can get involved in. Fire prevention is one of the biggest. That is what we key on here at the division, because with a strong fire prevention program, you hopefully put the firefighters out of business.
Right.
But so it's there are so many things that you can do. Like I said, fire prevention. There are larger departments who have people who actually do charting and graphing and record keeping and track changes in the fire service. So it's not all dragging a hose and climbing a ladder. There's a lot of there's a lot of interior work and safer work. I'll put it that way.
Right.
That you can be involved in.
Yeah, it's been really exciting, at least for my own education, to see all of these different layers of the fire service. Everything from even the arson investigations, right, the emergency preparedness. Your team has been very proactive in the preventative mission, I think, that you all try to reach out of. How are we making sure that we're ready to go and collaborate with our sister agencies in the event of an emergency?
Exactly.
I know you all have been doing the NJ Saver program, right? We're training all of these emerging folks on the same standards, the same information. And I think we have to put in a brag about the state of New Jersey. I think we are probably one of the top in the country for emergency preparedness, right? For where our law enforcement, our fire industry, local, county, state, we come together, I think, when we're hit with that type of challenge. And that's really a nod to the folks that are doing it.
Absolutely, without a doubt. We have great relationships with from the state police to OEM to OHS&P.
Yes.
Where when a large incident happens, we all come together. We know each other. We've worked together, and it makes for a smoother transition and a smoother incident.
Yeah, I think the teams. There's a lot of behind the scenes work in government, and I feel like I've been talking about this in the last few episodes. Right, people want to know, how are my taxpayers' dollars working, right? Is that getting to the service point? And I think your team has had kind of the 1,000 little conversations of how are we connecting before the thing happens? How are we planning for it? And then how are we successfully ready to communicate and deploy so that it's pretty seamless, right, as we're getting to that point. So, we'll tie in a little bit because I want to make sure that we're talking about the career work, right? Because I think in our efforts to really get out the word, we've got to talk about the industry. So I want to turn a little bit to you, Smitty. And so beyond the role when we're talking about firefighter, I know, Rich has noted some of the career tracks. Can you tell me a little bit from your vantage in the community reduction, where is there some valuable career or connection points that people can have when they're interested in this?
Sure. At this point, community risk reduction is a relatively young term in the fire service community. It used to be just public education where you had some brochures, fire hats, some crayons, and dressed up like Sparky the Fire Dog and went about your day. But community risk reduction is more data-driven and proactive. So there are folks out there. We have two experts out in the field, Vince Companion, Scott Royal, who are keeping stats on fire incidents and analyzing them to see where our public education efforts would be best suited, where our resources should go to try to, put a finer point on fire prevention, in certain areas, certain causes, that sort of thing.
So pivoting a little bit, I think, from, where community reduction, is really instead in terms of being, I think, kind of a first step in that community contact, right? In the education and the resource point. I'd like to hear from each of you about a bit of success story in the fire prevention world. So, where have you observed or where have you been a part of, some experience where you've been able to save lives or even on that preventative education end, really see like there's been a harm reduction, right? A light bulb moment or some sort of understanding from folks about the importance of this work. And I'd like to hear from you first, Smitty.
Sure. It's hard to quantify all the fires that didn't start, right? We have, like as I mentioned, our fire incident reporting unit who are keeping tabs on injuries, school fires, fatalities year after year. And as far as community risk reduction goes, it's hard not to take those numbers personally.
Right.
When you see, we had fatalities are up this year. Well, why? Were there smoke alarms? What was the cause? What could we have done better? So when those numbers are down, and unfortunately they've never been at zero, which is when we're truly, have done our job.
Right.
That's the ultimate goal, and that's what we're always working towards. So we celebrate when they're down, not too hard, obviously, because as I said, it's never perfect. And you kind of go back to the drawing board when they're up. So that's how we kind of go about it.
Yeah. Rich, what about you?
Yes. In my role as fire marshal, I deal with fire marshals from every other state, and we meet a couple times a year. We talk. A group of us talk regularly, and New Jersey every year historically has the lowest in fire deaths in the nation, and that's because of the programs that we have. That's because of our outreach. That's because of Operation Save a Life, the installation of smoke detectors. Every time I'm asked to speak about fire prevention, first thing I start off with is have working smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors in your home. Not just one screwed to the ceiling. Make sure they work. Make sure the batteries are changed. And then when you do have to change them, you go to the 10-year sealed battery. So you're pretty good for
a while.
You're good for 10 years. But New Jersey, like I said, historically is the lowest in the nation, especially with our 9.2 million people and our housing density.
Right.
It's a great tribute to not only the program that Smitty runs and the division, but to the fire prevention programs across the state.
Yeah, I think that can't be stated enough in terms of, Jersey's got a lot of population density. We've got a lot of old housing stock. We like to be close together in our state with that 9 million. And so, there is something we're doing right here if we've been able to cull that. And then I think about, something more rural like Minnesota or Kansas, and we're beating them out. I mean, that's significant. And that's a really important pivot point, I think you make, Rich, in terms of we must be doing something right. And it sounds like we're really getting a bit more advanced, I think, in our initiatives. And I've been a broken record, but I'll say it once and I'll say it again. The department has tried to endeavor on going, into a course of having some real data-driven decision-making, being able to use the intel, the training, the insights that you were talking about, Smitty, at the ground level so that we can really customize and engage our programs. But I wanted to hear a little bit more about, some of the innovations or initiatives you're seeing in the field, what the division is doing, and where that may be going in the future for fire safety and for fire prevention in New Jersey.
Sure. So, again, I go back to smoke detectors. The technology continues to advance every year. Instead of just a normal smoke detector that beeps, now they have ones for hearing impaired, visually impaired. You can have your smoke detector even send you text to your cell phone if you're not home. So in the fire prevention field, not only those technologies are advancing and improving, but the programs that they're coming out with that are rolling out and getting to the local level that we're using to educate the public they continue to change, and they're changing with the times and with the data that we collect nationwide on where are our fires happening, what times are they happening, who is being affected, what kind of buildings. So we're using this data and it's helping us advance these programs every year. I mean, that's really back in the 70s. There was a study done on fires in the U.S. by the U.S. Fire Administration, and that's really what kicked off these fire prevention programs and allowed the locals to see data from across the country to learn and to move their programs forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting to see that we're taking all of this knowledge point that's getting gained from our experts. We're able to cultivate it in a way that we can be a bit more predictive and program specific to the communities we're serving. And for anybody who's Jersey strong, no town is alike. That's why we have 567 of them last time I counted. But that, I think, is the way we've been more responsive in an evolving time. Now, I also want to highlight, too, because we're in this innovation point, and I think either you or Smitty had mentioned in the beginning, right? Some of the theme for Fire Prevention Week is these lithium-ion batteries. And I think that's a really important thing because that's almost this kind of subtle, only almost assumed thing that people don't think is a problem. And then you see the article about, you know, the EV battery or something exploding in that end, but then these scooters, right? I mean, I think you all have tried to be aggressive of also saying, guess what? This is everywhere. It's in the toys, it's online. But if you could touch, either of you, a little bit about that type of target effort, because I feel like that's hitting everyone. Everyone's running into these batteries.
Right. Yeah. And it's really an evolving situation.
Right.
Especially for the fire service. These fires are becoming a little more frequent, or at least maybe they're being publicized a little more. We began a year or two ago specifically tracking these lithium-ion battery fires, so we can see what the circumstances are. Are they doing it while they're charging? Are they doing it while they're being used? Whatever. So we're tracking this data to see what we can do to move forward. What we've done for the fire service is the last couple of years, we have rolled out a number of training initiatives where we have brought in experts because, we, as much as we like to think we're experts in most things, this is new. So we've brought in experts to educate the fire service, do these seminars on, what to look for, different ways for extinguishing these fires, because they don't extinguish like a normal fire.
Right.
It takes copious amounts of water for a duration of time before to cool these down. So our reach out is two-pronged. One's to the fire service and one to the general public. I was just asked by the League of Municipalities to do an article for their magazine, and I just finished it yesterday, so it came up to get looked at, and that is specifically what it's on, EV and lithium-ion battery fires, and it covers education for the public and how the fire service can react and respond to these.
That's great. And it's so critical, to your point, even about the municipalities, right? Because if we don't have that intentional education locally and that exposure, you're going to get to an incident, nobody's going to know what to do, and then it's too late. Smitty, anything to add?
I would just say I probably should have mentioned this before, but this year's Fire Prevention Week theme is Take Charge of Fire Safety, lithium-ion batteries on our homes. And that's the perfect example of the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, using the community risk reduction process. The data said this is where incidents are happening. This is a hazard now. This is where things are going. So we're going to create messaging to counteract that. So the message this year, as I said, Take Charge of Fire Safety, is concentrating on buying the correct chargers or products that are UL approved. And then when you have them, charge them safely on a hard surface, not, underneath your pillow at night. And then when you're through with them, recycling them in the correct way. So it's kind of like your life cycle with the lithium-ion battery, which, they're on our person, they're in our homes, our kids are using them every minute of the day almost. And these batteries the point of them is a lot of energy in a tiny area. So we want to make sure we're using them, charging them, and disposing of them correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize, and in some of the resources you all have even shared, and I think we do it internally, right, to even share with our own staff. But I mean, those universal labels, right? I can't tell how many times you get a quick little Amazon ad, and you're like, oh, well, this is $5. Why wouldn't I buy this? And it's like, oh, it's $5 because it hasn't been tested. It's $5 because there's no assurance point, and it hasn't gone through quality control. And then, like you said, you're charging on the phone. Life moves fast. And then you've got something that could create a major fire issue. So I think it's a perfect theme for this year because everyone is going to deal with this in some way, shape, or form and should be proactive about it. I want to, end our session because there's a tremendous amount of information you both have shared, but we are community affairs, so we always start and end on community. In terms of how we're educating in that community risk reduction work, Smitty, I've watched you have, I think, an incredible way with a lot of different audiences. You are, captivating with the youth. I suspect this is talking to a variety of people with different backgrounds from different perspectives. How do you and the team and Rich make sure that you're adapting the education to these different audiences so that it just resonates and stays with people?
Sure. I don't think fire safety education is one size fits all. I mean, something that's going to appeal to little kids or middle schoolers or high schoolers or senior citizens is all going to be different. I mean, we have programs in the school. We have a fire science program, the Fire Bowl, which you saw. We have an artistic contest, fire safety posters. For seniors, we have obviously Operation Save a Life that gets out the smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms. And for the seniors, we have more printed materials, just a little more old school. So I think it's just a matter of being out there and figuring out how to relate to each group, and then that's how you get your message across.
Can one of you tell me maybe just a quick experience of you were able to share these resources, information, and somebody kind of let you know, hey, I read this thing, or I heard you speak, or, my kids went to, this fire department and this was helpful. Have you heard any of that feedback from our residents at all?
Yeah, I've actually been, after an educational session, approached by someone saying, I really didn't know what the fire service does, but it really interests me. How do I go about learning more or becoming a volunteer firefighter?
Wow.
And I told him, I said, listen, the best thing to do is talk to somebody who does it. Talk to somebody who has done it. Go to your local firehouse. Spend a Monday night with them while they're having drill night, just to see what they do. Talk to those, you're not going to learn any more than from someone who does it.
Yeah.
So that if your interest has been piqued, really, really learn all you can about it, and then make your final decision. But that was also at a job fair that we did up at Kean University.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, and I think those are important points in some of this too. And I know we haven't gone into all this. And again, for folks that want to learn more, check out the department's website, Division of Fire Safety. There's a lot of great information. But, you noted our volunteer firefighter community. And I got to give a shout out to both our career firefighters, our volunteer firefighters. I am just learning this industry, and I think it's worth kind of saying that's a perfect opportunity for folks to cut in. I feel like, the firefighter industry is very welcoming. I feel like if you were to just go to your local firehouse and say, hey, I have some questions or interest, they're ready and willing.
Absolutely.
So I think that's an important plug. And what I love about this state and what the division has done, and I think our volunteer career service is, it's very collaborative. There's a support point, and we need our volunteer firefighters as much as we need our career. So, to your point, if you just want to get a little curious, figure out how you can volunteer that time, I mean, that's a master class right there and can really create some opportunity, and you can do that today.
Sure. And so many departments now have mentorship programs. They have outreach programs to the communities to garner that interest in the fire service. And what we've been able to do here at the division, we had a regulation changed our regulations a couple of years ago, and we expanded our junior firefighter program. So before you're 18, when you're 15 years old, you can join a department as a junior, and you're somewhat limited as to what you can do, but it really gives you a good taste as to what the fire service does, and you can do a little hands-on, and then you can transition, if you like it, into a full-time firefighter.
Yeah, that's an incredible pathway, and to any of the high school students, right, the middle school students, those who are trying to figure out their path, that's a great intro point that you can get a little experience right in your community, and hopefully get that bug to join. So I want to end, I think, with a little bit of something personal, because I think at the department, and I've said this in other episodes, we've got a contingent of people here, public servants, that don't just do the job for the job. I think you got to want it, and you got to love it a little bit, and it lives with you. And if you both could kind of, I think, end this episode today and share a little bit about, in your time in industry, right, decades of experience between you both, what's been a moment or something that's happened that's enriched you personally or professionally? What's made you want to stay and be a advocate for this work?
For me, anyway, I mean, I know it sounds corny, but I love New Jersey. I've lived here my whole life. I grew up in Woodbridge. I went to Rutgers. I live at the shore now, and I'll be at the shore when I'm retired. So I take a lot of pride in that, first and foremost. And as Rich said, putting us at the forefront nationally of fire safety, the lowest fatalities or incidents or whatever it may be. But more personally, I come from a family of public servants and firefighters. You mentioned that I go by Smitty. My grandfather was Captain Charles Lavin, who went by Smitty from city of Elizabeth. My dad is a retired fire captain from Elizabeth. My uncles, my cousins are still there. Our Captain Danny Byrne is still there. So when we're preventing fires or striving to prevent fires, we're protecting the firefighters too. I mean, the less times they have to go out and run into those burning buildings for people, we're not only helping the people, we're helping them as well. So again, I take that mission personally, and over the past 22 years, hopefully there's success stories out there that we don't even know about, and hopefully there's many more to come.
Well, it doesn't just run in your heart, it runs in your veins then.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's in your blood.
Service. That's right. Rich, what about you?
So there's a saying in the fire service: you're either on the job or you're in the job. And when you're on the job, you're just going through the motions. And there are those who just do. They come, they do their job, and they leave. Then there are those of us who were into the job. Even when I retired in 2018. It is something I'd done for 34 years. And I was like, wow, this is going to be a tough adjustment. And fortunately, I was able to transition over to here. So it's something that I love. I continue to do. I'll do it even as a volunteer as long as I can. But it's just something that it's ingrained in you. You want to help. You want to be the best that you can be by providing and helping others.
I think that's beautifully stated, both of you. And when we bring the humanity back in it, right, you couldn't leave it alone. You left, you came back. So for folks that are interested, check out our website. Take a look at the Division of Fire Safety, explore your local firefighter community, go out there, be curious, and figure out where you can make an impact. We'll be sharing a little bit more as we promote our fire service industry. Please check out job opportunities across the state. We'll share more on our socials. Thank you once again for tuning in to Community at the Core, a DCA podcast. I'm Kaya King, and we look forward to the next time. Have a great one. Thank you.